Welcome back to Techlearners. Today we will discuss user input using scanner class. Yes, we can take user input from different ways, from which one is using a scanner class. Scanner class resides in Java util package. So we need to import this scanner class into our program. Scanner class is used to read input from user. Basically, we can use a standard input, which is the keyboard. So from reading from the keyboard, we use scanner. We can also use reading from a file. That means we can take input from a file using scanner class. Scanner class can do much more than only inputting or accepting values or reading values. It can also be used for pattern matching and for searching. Scanner basically splits input into substrings of tokens. These tokens are separated by delimiters. So we will see this into the Java program. Now the default delimiter is always a white space. That means whenever we separate, let's say this is it spaced then can, so we say that these two words are separated by a delimiter, that is a white space. We can change this delimiter also. Now let's see how we can create the scanner object. Just to create the scanner object, we'll use a scanner class and then we'll use the new keyword that will create the object, and we use this system.in stream. The in basically is the input stream used to accept or read values from the standard input, that is keyboard. We have used system.out for printing the values onto the standard output, that is onto the monitor. Let's see how we can use different values. Let's say if you want to read an integer, then there is a function defined into the scanner class known as nextInt. So we use nextInt function, and then this integer can be read from the standard input keyboard. Similarly, if you want to read a string, that is only a word before till the delimiter, so we will use the next function. Remember, this will read only the word which is still the first delimiter. If we want to read a character, then we'll use this next function, and we need to use the char add function. This is for the strings, so we can understand this char add function when we study the strings. So just to read a character, we will use sc.next.char add, and now the index is 0, so this will give you the first character inside the string. Similarly, to read the float, we have next float function. To read double, we have next double function, and we can read a boolean. We can read a full sentence using next line. So the main methods on into the scanner class are next to read a word, next line to read a sentence, next int to read integer, read float, next double for double, next boolean, next long, next short, next byte, and all the functions are defined. So we have another method that is defined into the scanner, which is use delimiter. So we'll see how we can use the delimiter. Again, we have some other functions to check that the other inputting value that we will read from the keyboard, what is that type. So just to check the type of next readable value from the standard input keyboard, we have has next int. So this will check whether the next readable value is an integer or not, and depending upon it will return a boolean value. Then has next boolean, has next float, has next double, and so on. So we have many functions defined into the scanner we can use. Let's see what we are going to study in our program today about the scanner class. One, we'll learn to import scanner class, which resides into the util package. Then we'll read the input from the standard input, that is keyboard, then we learn the use of delimiter, and we'll also learn reading from a file. So let's go into the Java program and complete our objectives for the scanner. Now just to use this scanner class, we need to import the scanner class into our program. So in this tutorial, Java programming tutorial, this is the first time we are using this import keyword and this import statement. So let me explain you what is happening there. Basically, this import statement imports the already defined class into our program so that we can use the methods that are defined into the class in our program. So now, as we need to use the methods of the scanner class, so we need to import this scanner class. Now if you are wondering where are these scanner and all the import classes, so let me show you, because this is java.util is a package, and inside the package you have multiple classes, so you have a scanner class. So let me show you where this scanner class resides physically. So we'll go into our computer, we'll go to the C drive. Inside the C drive, we'll go to the program files in the Java folder where you have installed this Java. Then we'll go inside the JDK. You might have different version of JDK. 1.8 I have, you might be having 12 or 14. Inside the JDK, you can see this is src folder. So we'll open this src folder. This is basically a jar folder currently. Inside this src, you can see these are the root level packages like com, java, javax, launcher, org. So you can see we'll use this Java, and inside that Java you see these are applet, awt, beans, io. Normally we use this io package, and in our current program we will be using this util. So we have java.util. Inside this util, you can see all are these classes that belongs to java.util package. So let's see, this is the scanner class that we are trying to import in our program. In the same way, you can find all other classes that you wish to import. Now let me open this and show you what is inside this scanner class. Obviously, inside a class we have methods and properties. So this is the scanner class. You can see this belongs to java.util package, and there are another imports, and we can see this is how the scanner class is defined. So these are all the comments, and later we see the methods also. So you can see this is the public final class scanner, which is implementing two interfaces, that is iterator and closable. So this is how the scanner class is defined. Obviously we are not going to make any changes into this scanner class, and you can see downwards we have a lot of methods defined into this scanner class. You can find any method you would like. Let's say next int method. Let me find next int, right? So you can see you come down to this definition of different functions like toString function. So this is the definition of the toString functions that is used. This is the hasNext function. You can see this is the definition of hasNext function. We can see, we will see how we will be using these functions into the scanner. So let's go back into our Java program and see how we will be using this scanner class. So this is the import we have made, java.util.scanner class, and then our main method. So let's see how we can use the scanner. First of all, we need to create the object of this scanner class. So this is the object of the scanner class just by passing the input stream, and then we can say please enter a string. Let's say we want to accept a string wd.sc.next system.out.println wd. So let me compile. So this is a string wd we are accepting using the next function. Let me compile this for you and then execute. Right, so it is asking please enter a string. So Techlearners is here. just see what I have done. I have entered a complete sentence, but just on entering, what is the result? Entered word is Techlearners. So you can see it is printing only the first word of the sentence because we have used next. Why this is happening? Because this sentence have delimiters. So this is one delimiter space, this is another delimiter space, and the next function prints only or reads only the first word before the first delimiter. So that is why only Techlearners is printed here. Now what if I would like to get all this complete sentence? What I have to do, I have to just make a small change into this. Instead of next function, I will be using next line function. Now see what will happen if I use this next line function, and if I type Techlearners is here, and if now I enter, you can see now this time it is reading the full sentence. So this is the difference between next and next line function. Now let me show you the use of delimiter. So how we will be using here dot use delimiter function, and then inside the function we'll write what delimiter we wish to write. So I have used a comma, that is comma. So I'm using a comma as a delimiter. Now what happens, and I'm changing this next line function back to next. So let me compile and show you now what will happen. This time it will accept the delimiter as a comma, not as a space. So let me write Techlearners, I am giving a space, is here, comma, to teach, comma, you. Right, now we can see if the delimiter would have been a space, only this word would have been printed, but now we have changed the delimiter to comma. So this is one word, and after the comma this is another word, and then this is termed as another word. Basically these are the tokens. So let me put enter, and then we can see, right, this is Techlearners is here. So this is the token before our first delimiter. Right, so this is how we can use delimiter. Now let us see the other methods. This is has next int, which will check whether the next input value is an integer or not. So let me check, let me compile, let me remove this delimiter. So now we are using the default delimiter as a white space. So compile, close, and let me run. So I have given the input as, let's say, Techlearners is here. So enter, Techlearners is here. Now this is entered word is false, because the next word in this, you can see, is, it's not an integer, so the result is false. This was the first token, the next token was is, so this is false. It has to be a integer value. So now let me re-execute this and input something like this, Techlearners, then 456 is here. Now let me press the enter, and now you can see true. Yes, because the next token is an integer value 456. This was the first token, and the next token was an integer, so this is true. So this is how we can use the other functions like has next int, has next float, so you can check what the type of next inputted value. So now let's talk about some more functions. Let's talk about some more options available. So we can see that, let me delete this. So we can see that just to input a number we use next int. Similarly, just to input a char we use char at, next float, next float. So these are different functions we can use to input values. So let me compile and show you how we can accept integer values, char values. So please enter a number. I'll enter 456. So this is printing 456. Please enter a character. If I enter let's say R, then it will be accepting as R. Okay, if I would have entered, let's say, a word character, so the 0th index of this is C, so C would have been printed. So here I have used only one character, so this is 0 index, so it is printed here, char at 0. Now please enter a decimal value, so this is a decimal value. So this is how we can accept all the values. Now let me tell you how we can use the scanner class to read from a file. So before we read from a file, let me show you how we can read a file. So just to read from a file, we need a file object. So file class we will be using. The file class resides into the Java IO package. We can either use the wildcard or we can use the file class itself. So in both the ways we can use. So let me use this wild class. So this is a file class that we are using. Inside the parameter we are just passing the path of my text file. So let me show you that in my D drive I have made a file, in my E drive I have made a file, a text file. You can use this text file using a notepad or using any other, and I have written something inside this text file. So we are just trying to read this text file from the scanner class. So how we'll be doing this? So let's go back to the program. We'll go back. So we'll create a file object, we'll specify the path of the file, and then we'll use a scanner, and in the parameter we just pass the object of the file. So as we have passed here the input stream to read from the keyboard, now just to read from a file we'll pass the name of the file, the object of that file. Now we'll be using the next line function similarly we used, and then we'll printing this value. So let me compile and show you that it has read. It will read. So this is text from the file. Hello, this is Techlearners. If you remember that I had opened the file, it was the text into the file. So this is how we can read from a file. Similarly, the scanner class can also be used to read the values from a string itself. So if I just pass a string, this is Java inside the parameter of this scanner class. So this is a variable sf is also, let me change the variable sff, right? So this is just a string I have passed into the parameter while creating the scanner class, and now we'll be using same functions of the scanner class. So this is Java should be replaced here with a variable. So let me compile you and show you the reading using a string. This is Java, right? So we have got this output. So you have seen that the scanner class can be used for multiple purposes. It can be used to read inputs from the keyboard, from standard. It can be used to read from a file. It can be used to read from other variables like strings. You can perform integer reading, string reading, char reading. You can also perform the delimiter pattern to read different ways, and you can also use that particular pattern matching also with the scanner. So that's all for the scanner lecture. I hope you have understood. Feel free to ask your questions, feel free to comment, and if you like the videos, then please subscribe the channel for more videos. Thank you so much.